Hi, I'm Mars from StrataGames, and today we're trying something new. I decided to brew up a Temur Wildfire list. This is basically Is-It Control with your Screds, your Lightning Bolts, your Counterspells, Delirium Terrors, Murmuring Mystic, Monarch, Lorien Revealed, etc. But I wanted to try out Cleansing Wildfire, kind of taking an approach that Jeskai Ephemerate does, and adding in the bridges, wildfires, and giving us the ability to splash another color. And I figured, why not do what everyone says happens all the time and that they hate, which is splash just for Chrysalis. We're not exactly splashing just for Chrysalis. We're also doing a Pulse of Marasa because this is a very good green card. Can get back any of our threats, and also some Malevolent Rumbles. People have been playing some terror lists recently, like some Simic terror lists that run Malevolent Rumble and Grapple with the Past. And I do think there's a bit of a non-bow there. Rumble can only grab permanent cards, and obviously Terror wants you to have as many spells in your graveyard as possible. But this also mills cards, and we have 11 creatures, 20 lands, so the chances that we hit with our Rumble are pretty high. Maybe every once in a while we'll whiff, but ideally it'll be okay. But I figured this is a nice way to replace some of the ponders that we would generally play, which allows us to find our key creatures, and also it has a little bit of synergy with the Terror, milling spells, and it has synergy with the Chrysalis, adding to our spawn count. So I thought that would kind of be interesting. Of course, we're playing Cleansing Wildfire. Because of that, we're playing one mountain, one forest, and a bunch of islands. We're also playing a couple Bountiful Landscapes. We have 10 snow lands still, and of course, because we're playing Lorien Revealed, we have a snow dual for blue-green and for blue-red. We also got a couple Spell Pierces, the counter spells I mentioned, and a one of Monarch is all that really remained. It's possible we should be playing more of these, seeing as Chrysalis is a nice blocker for them, but I wanted to keep a couple Mystics, and I feel like Terrors and Chrysalis go together nicely, so there wasn't as much room as I was wanting for some of the creatures. Then in our sideboard, we have a lot of the same types of things you'd see in an Is-It sideboard: Hydroblast, Cast into the Fire, Pyroblast, and Breath Weapon, but we also get to play a couple Weather the Storms. So let's take it into a league and see how we do. All right, here we are, round one, and we have decent mana, but nothing to play until a Chrysalis on turn 4. Feels like it's probably going to be too slow, so I think we got to get rid of this one. This is better. We have some interaction, Murmuring Mystic. We're going to keep. We'll have to get rid of... I want to keep these lands. Slagwood's Bridge does make things a little awkward with a counterspell. I think we'll get rid of the Scred since it only does a couple damage based on what we have in hand so far. It's possible I should just keep all the interaction and get rid of the Murmuring Mystic, since we can ideally find some win con. And since we're against elves, definitely going to regret getting rid of a Scred. Also, we do find another creature. I'm going to lead with Spell Pierce here, just on the off chance they play like a Winding Way right away, or lead the Stampede. Instead, it's a Timber Watch Elf. So I'll hold up Counterspell. They tap for 3 for a Lead the Stampede. They can only tap this Llanowar Elves, or Fyndhorn Elves rather, so we can Spell Pierce this. And they cycle a Generous Ent. They've already played their land though. Swing for 1. We get a Rumble. We're going to play a Bridge, hold up Counterspell. They go for a Priest of Titania. With Aquarian Ranger, we have no removal. I think that's worth countering. They swing at the Ranger for 1 damage. We get a Silver Buff Bridge, which is nice. Let's just play a Rumble, and we find a land. I'll take the Bountiful Landscape in case we want to end up cycling it, since we already have this blue bridge here. They cycle another Generous Ent. They play a Nyxborn Hydra for 2 on the Ranger, which gives it trample and allows them to use the Timberwatch Elf if they want, but they're just going to leave it up. So I could play a Chrysalis or a Mystic. Mystic doesn't do too much here at the moment. We'll just play Chris. They cycle a 3rd Generous Ent. Masked Vandal. They can take out a Bridge, which is kind of annoying. So I could block with a 5/6 Chrysalis. They can just pump it for +4. It doesn't seem the best until we can at least take advantage of it by dealing damage to one of these. They are going to pump, untap, just deal 7, play a Landscape, and Mystic. Definitely things would be a lot better if we'd kept that Scred, because we could have taken out the Timberwatch Elf pretty early. Honestly, we might not have been able to, I think, because we wouldn't have been able to until turn 3, and they already had it down on turn 2. So it wouldn't have made a big difference, but having the Scred would be nice because if we find another removal spell, we could actually do something here. They attack with everybody, so I have to block these 2 to not die. This can give +10, so it'd be 13, which means I'll just barely survive. But I'm not sure there's anything I can actually do here. Get our forest. This is now 13, so I have to sack this to be able to survive. Cleansing Wildfire is not going to cut it. I think we'll just go to the next game. We get Cast into the Fire and Breath Weapon. Can take out Spell Pierce and honestly Rumbles, because it's just not that important that we find our creatures. We just need to find removal, and then we'll be okay. I guess maybe one of these over a Pulse is probably fine. Alright, we have 1 Scred, 2 Brainstorms. That's it. I don't think this one's going to cut it. Alright, we have Cast into the Fire, Breath Weapon, Rumble. We get a little hosed by Masked Vandal, but ideally Rumble can fix that a little bit. Put back the Terror. It's possible that I could keep Terror and I could actually get it down pretty fast if we hit a bunch of spells with the Rumble. Play a Mystic. We do get another land. It's funny, Brainstorm and Rumble can actually be used together as kind of like an auger thing. I can set up the Rumble to make sure it hits, and I can clear our Brainstorm. And then I could hold up Cast into the Fire for 2 creatures here maybe. But if they don't play something with 1 toughness I care enough to kill, then I wouldn't love that. I think I'll just get rid of it. Chrysalis, I can't play yet, but I think that's still probably the better pick, unless this does get blown up, in which case maybe I should have gone more conservative and taken the bridge. They play a Ranger. Yeah, I guess if they have a Generous Ent and a Masked Vandal, then they can do that, and that'll be pretty unfortunate. Instead, they have a Zan. Interesting. So that Rampant Growths and makes it so I can't Cast into the Fire those 2 creatures. Kind of annoying. Not the end of the world, but still. We have 3 spells in our graveyard. I could play a Terror, but let's Brainstorm first. Yeah, now without that land, these Chrysalises, these Chris's are just gonna hang out, not do too much. Well, let's play Terror. They Winding Way, hit a Timberwatch and a Priest of Titania. Play a Mystic. I'm gonna swing for 5 and just pass, hold up Counterspell and Breath Weapon. I'm trading 5 for 4 here, which is a little better for us. Obviously, it could be 6 if they attacked, but I could just wipe these away. And I could have cast these 2 into the fire, but then we're not only susceptible to a Masked Vandal, but also this way they might play more creatures, in which case I can get a bigger Breath Weapon off. They pay 5 for an Avenging Hunter. That's going to be difficult to get through, so we're going to just counter that. They attack for 5. I will attack for 5. I fully admit I should have just grabbed that land earlier. Obviously, our hand developed in a different way than I had anticipated, but yeah, having another land would have been a lot better than this random Chrysalis that I can't do anything with. They play a Forest. There's the Priest. There's the Timberwatch Elf. And they attack. I'm just going to go for the Breath Weapon. Hope they don't have anything to do with that. Nice. We take 4, and Counterspell off the top's not bad. We get to attack for 5 here, and just pass. We play a Nyxborn Hydra for 1 to make this big enough to trade with the Terror. It's kind of embarrassing that they're playing that, but it's more embarrassing that I'm going to actually counter it, because now if they play it like a 1-drop, I can just cast that into the fire, which is what they do. Attack for 4, because they get to untap it. Replay and play a Llanowar Elves. Well, I do get to cast both of these, which makes them block with the 4/3, and now if they can only play creatures with 2 toughness or less, then Breath Weapon can clear them away. Winding Way finds them a Masked Vandal that has 3 toughness and eats our bridge, so that's pretty annoying. Llanowar Elves. Terror off the top's pretty good though. So let's swing, force a chump. They block with the Vandal, which is actually better if we do get a red land here. Lead the Stampede. They find another Vandal, although I don't have a target at the moment. Timberwatch, Fyndhorn. They play 2 Mystics and a Fyndhorn Elves, so Mountain off the top would win the game. Mystic off the top does not do anything. We do get to force 2 chumps every turn. There's Timberwatch and a Llanowar Elves, and the Vandal. Cleansing Wildfire, swing for 10, 2 chump blocks, and pass the turn. They have a Nyxborn Hydra for +3, and that's lethal. Well, that's an unfortunate turn of events, but I didn't play perfectly. If we had taken that land earlier, not only would we have been able to do more things earlier, we wouldn't have gotten stuck by that 1 Masked Vandal. We could have easily won the game, and I just picked the wrong card. But that is match 1 with this deck, so you know, I guess that's my excuse. Alright, we'll be on the play. This hand is decent. I mean, I guess it's kind of similar to the one we threw back in match 1, because it doesn't really do anything until turn 3, or 4 rather, with these guys, but we do have a Scred, although it only deals 1 damage. Against something with Inspector. Another Chrysalis. Of course, Skyfisher, so it could just be White Weenie. They didn't even attack for 1. We need to hit a land drop pretty badly here. There's a Bugler. Alright, Mountain off the top is very good for us. That is a little lucky, but we also didn't draw land for the previous 2 turns, so now we get to start playing Chrysalises. Screds are coming online. Great Sword of Tyr. Okay, that can be problematic, but they can tap down just 1 Chrysalis. Once we have the second one, it's going to be harder for them to do anything about it, unless they have another Great Sword. We'll take 5 here. They replay their Novice Inspector. Get a Brainstorm. I'm going to play the Chrysalis. I think I want to hit a land enough that I'm going to Brainstorm. If we don't hit the land, I can still play Chrysalis, but I'm going to have to use up one of these spawn first, but let's go for it. We find a Lorien. Spell Pierce doesn't seem great, and Pulse can be pretty good. Of course, they have Thraben Charms, but they're going to have to probably use them to kill the Chrysalis in the first place. Murmuring Mystic can be good later. I don't really want to get rid of any of these single target removal spells, though. Let's go for the Mystic. We already have 2 Chrysalises plus the Pulse. Get a Snuff-Covered Island here. We're going to play another Chrysalis. So now we have 2 guys they can't hopefully get through very easily. There's a Thraben Inspector, and they still just attack with everybody. Tap the smaller one, so they're going to, like, Thraben Charm this other one, I assume. Yup, they have 8 creatures, so I can't grow it out of range. So that's going to die. This is going to get tapped. We'll take 7. No, I think we'll block this for 4. And they re-equip the Greatsword to the Skyfisher. Play an Inspector, Spell Pierce. So I could pull some Marasa and bring back this Chrysalis. Although since they were kind enough to re-equip the sword here, I could just bolt this down. So I think we pulse this back while they don't have a Thraben Charm to exile it. But I don't actually want to cast it yet. I had to choose between tapping out of blue or leaving up double red. I think the Spell Pierce is less likely to be useful here, so I kept up double red. Have a Bugler, finds another Skyfisher. They go to combat, and Skred is going right at the Skyfisher before they can attack with it to halt their attacks for the whole turn. We need a couple more lands before these Skreds are really good. I'm going to not Skred here because if they want to equip the Greatsword to Skyfisher, then I might be able to get them with the Skred again. We do get a land, and here's... Do I want to leave up double Skred or Spell Pierce? I think we still want to leave up double Skred, so let's just play second Chrysalis here, pass the turn. They crack a clue, crack another clue, good sign for us, and crack a third. That's going to be no attacks. We get a Wildfire, nice. That puts our Skreds to 5 damage. Spell Pierce, not super relevant. Should I take out a Bugler while they don't have like a Prismatic Strands or something? I think it's small enough that at this point, if they put a Greatsword on it, I can then Skred it. I think we'll wait. There's an Inspector. With all these Inspectors, they definitely have a little more advantage than we do, but we're still not in a bad spot. Equip the Greatsword to the Bugler, and I'm going to Skred it for 5. Nice. If they're even able to tap down one of these, they might be willing to sacrifice 1 creature to get in for a bunch, and I'd rather that doesn't happen. Counterspell's nice too. We're definitely just playing control, holding down the fort here. They crack a couple more clues though. Lunarch Veteran, totally fine. 4 mana for a Battle Screech. So I could counter that. I could Spell Pierce it. I'd have to double Spell Pierce it. I think that's just gonna have to be fine. Can maybe counterspell the second half because I don't have any board wipes in the main deck. I opted to take the Breath Weapons out when I put in more green spells, so I think maybe keeping 2 of these off the field's worth it. But maybe I should just save that for like a Guardian's Pledge. We get a Rumble off the top. Let's cast that. We just get an island. We go through a Brainstorm and 2 Lorien Revealeds. That hurts. We're gonna pass. I mean, the good news is we have a bunch of spawn to block most all of the ground creatures, plus we have 2 Chrysalis to block the flyers. So we're not currently getting super overrun, but another Bugler we are going to at some point. They get a Veteran, Grange pumps the Skyfisher, equip the Greatsword to the Skyfisher, and I think Skyfisher's the type of card I want to kill anyway, so let's go for the Skred on that. Now they have the Prismatic Strands, we will Spell Pierce it, which they can just flash it back. I'll Spell Pierce it again, since our Spell Pierces are not going to get a lot of value anyway. We might as well use them where we can, and hope we draw. I mean, we've already gone through 3 Lorien Revealeds, so Lorien was definitely one of the cards I was hoping to draw before. Now it's not looking likely. Equip the Greatsword to a bird. Bountiful Landscape. We're going to cycle that. Just a bridge. We're going to hold that to bluff something. There's another Veteran and a Skyfisher. They return a Novice Inspector. They could return a Bugler, but they decide they want to draw not just creatures. They would like to draw Thraben Charms and things like that. They draw a Bugler anyway. Cast that and reveal a Thraben Inspector. They attack with everybody. Yeah, I guess I get to eat a bird, and I'll block the 2 power creatures and draw a counterspell. We're going to die to what's already on board, unfortunately. Well, we've gotten up against 2 matches now where we wish we had board wipes in the main deck. Spell Pierce, not going to be great. Admiral's going to be a tough sell. Pulse and a Rumble. Alright, this one looks decent. Play a bridge and pass. Thraben Inspector. We get to Brainstorm and Lorien here. I don't want to play this bridge until we can hold up a counterspell, just in case they brought in Dust to Dust. I did think it was possible they could bring in Revoke Existence, but couldn't do much about that, so We do have a Cleansing Wildfire here, a little bit off from it. For now, let's put back a Scred and this Mystic, I think. Cycle a Lorien, and I think we're just going to find blue-red so that I can have up double blue later, or I could have up... I could Cleansing Wildfire this bridge the moment I play it now. I have some options. There's a Bugler, finding an Informant. Could also just hold up Counterspell here and play the bridge. I think we would like to make up for the land we lost, though. We get the Forest in case they do blow this one up as well. Another Bugler for a Skyfisher, and an Informant. Swing with the team. Terror with 3 spells in the graveyard. I will play out our Chrysalis. They crack a clue, and another. Play an Inspector. We get an Island. So terror costs 4. So I'm just going to bolt down one of these Buglers. Makes the terror cost 3, so I can play it. Hold up both of our piece of interaction. Pass. They have a Veteran and a Battle Screech. I could counter the Battle Screech. I can cast into the fire 2 of them already, so this is a way to get more of them off the field. I think our goal is to try to find a Breath Weapon, though, because I think if we counter this and cast the other 2 into the fire, we're not dealing with like the Skyfisher and the other stuff coming down the pipeline, so I think we just let this go. And if we can find a Breath Weapon, then cast into the fire can like finish off the Bugler. You can just attack for a bunch here. So let's just pass. Plus, if they have like a Guardian's Pledge here, then I at least can counterspell. Cast into the fire could also take out a Great Sword. If they play that, they're going to play the Informant first, pitch a Revoke Existence, use another Informant, pitch a Novice Inspector. We're going to pass. We're going to cycle for an Island. Breath Weapon. Well, Cleansing Wildfire draws us a card, although it uses red, so I can't actually Breath Weapon if I draw it and cast to the fire, which I guess might be fine. It still just wipes most of their board. Use that, get our mountain, bridge. And we're just going to pass. Hope these 2 creatures, well, 4, but really just the 2, holds down the fort nicely. There's an Inspector and another. They attack with the birds. I'll block and I guess just take it. We're really trying to find that Breath Weapon. However, I mean, just drawing lands isn't going to help us. I know that we replaced some Ponders, which can get any card, with Malevolent Rumble that cannot grab a Breath Weapon, so it's going to be a tricky one. They play a Bugler for another Skyfisher. Swing with the team. Block the biggest ones. Sack some spawn. They have a Destroy Evil. I will counterspell that and cast into the fire 2 of the birds. And we go down to 6. Skyfisher, it's pretty much Breath Weapon or bust here. I mean, a Brainstorm would give us another draw, obviously, but I think we just drew really poorly there, unfortunately. All right, let's give this another try. We have a turn 2 Wildfire on the play, which seems decent. Play a bridge and pass. We're against another snow-covered island player. We're going to Wildfire, hope for no Spell Pierce. Fortunately, they have it. We draw an island, so let's just play that and pass. They cycle Lorien. So it looks like we're against the better mirror. Draw here. We get a Cleansing Wildfire. Guess I should have just cycled the Lorien on their turn, so that I could now that I have the Wildfire, so I could do that with Counterspell backup, but we'll go for it anyway. Bluff a Spell Pierce. They go for the Counterspell. Now I'm just cycling this and tapping out. Yeah, this was definitely not the right way to do this, especially if they now just put down the Monarch. This video might not be my finest work, but that's what happens when I cross a deck I'm not very familiar But that's what happens when I cross an archetype I'm not very familiar with a brand new brew. All right, here we're going to go for a Rumble to try to find a land, just so we hit our land drops. We have a Counterspell to back up if we really want. I'm going to take the Landscape because we have Brainstorms to use with it. Play that and pass. I'll Brainstorm at the end step here. I'm fine to draw at least one of these bridges. We're just going to put them back, draw, and play one. I can always shuffle the other one away if I want, or I can just keep it, which if we just do draw go again, I'll be fine to keep another land. They cast a Preordain, keep both on top, play a Landscape and a Terror for 3. They have Counterspell mana back up, so I think we Counterspell here. We can always Scred this, but we're going to have to get more Snowlands. Landscape represents 1 snow land, but the land on top is a bridge. I do have a Counterspell, so that's fine. So we already know the top card of our library, and we don't want it at this point. I'd take a land, but I want it to be a snow land, so let's just sack the Landscape. We'll see what we draw for turn. If it's not what we want, I can always cycle this Lorien. I think I'm a little too greedy. I'd rather just cast the Lorien to draw. If we draw a land, an untapped snow land, then I can still kill the terror with the Scred by sacking the spawn for it. We get a landscape, which isn't bad, but I have to sack that. It's tapped. Then I don't have the mana for the ward. So we're just going to pass here. But we do have a Chrysalis next turn. And if I don't sack the spawn before then, Chrysalis could be a 5/6. So that could be pretty nice to block the terror. I'll take 5. And they're going to play a Murmuring Mystic. I'm going to respond with a Brainstorm and a Landscape Crack. Another Scred is nice. We're about to pull a land from this landscape, so I don't actually need this one, because I'm going to have 5 for the Screds, and I think I want everything else. So let's put back Island and Bolt. Mystic's fine. Sack the landscape. Just get more islands. Admiral's good if we can wipe these away. So I think I just start with a Scred on the Mystic. That works. Okay, so I can actually just Chrysalis here. And then I don't think there's any reason to tap out of our counterspell, so we'll just pass. I do also have access to Scred on the Terror if they like tapped out here for a Scred. They only have 5 lands because they tapped the landscape, so I can grow this out of that range, which means I don't have to burn my counterspell. I just have to burn all my tokens. And then while I have this mana, I probably might as well just use the Scred on the Terror. It even plays around Spell Pierce. It doesn't play around a Dispel, but I think this played out poorly for them. Use 2 mana. Yeah, they said they did not count, which makes sense. Now, we don't have a counterspell here, but even if they played like Monarch, I have a pretty aggressive creature, I have a Monarch of my own, then I can counterspell, plus I have a Terror. Lorien's pretty good to do while we're tapped out, mostly tapped out, but I still think we're going to pull ahead here because I can play Monarch, Terror, and still hold up counterspell. I guess the best they could do is like a Terror here. They shuffle off the Ponder, pass the turn, we get an island, let's play a Terror, and an Admiral. Swing for 5 and draw from the Monarch. Now we only need to counter like a Murmuring Mystic or maybe like a Terror, but I don't even think I'm that scared of a Terror. They have an Admiral of their own. I think that's fine because I can attack them for 13. They can't block the Admiral. They'd have to chump, or they could take it, but they're only going to get 1 draw. Well, 2 draws, I guess, before they just die. Wildfire. Let's cast that. Get a mountain here. Play a bridge. Swing with the crew. I suppose if I kept this off the field, the chance that they could get the Monarch is just much smaller, because I guess if they go for like a Scred here, that's not great for us. But we take the Monarch, they go down to 2, so we now have 3 lethal attackers with the counterspell, and a Brainstorm on the end step, which I might as well just cast in case we can get another counterspell or something. Lightning Bolt. Well, I guess I could just bolt down the Admiral. Might as well do that in their upkeep in case they have a counterspell for it. I guess this could actually just go to their face. So this is very much missing the forest for the trees here. I think we're going to be okay, but maybe I should have just used that with my counterspell backup to win the game instead of killing a single creature. There's a Murmuring Mystic. Let's counterspell. They have the counterspell back. I guess if they have a removal spell, that's enough blockers, or just 2 cantrips. Swing with the team. They do have a Bolt on the Admiral. If they don't have another, they have to chump with the Mystic, which is pretty good for us. Alright, that makes me feel like we're still going to probably win, which is good, because if I throw another game from just playing improperly, this probably won't get uploaded. We'll draw our bridge off the top. They go for a Brainstorm. Preordain. There's 1 Terror, but they're going to need a couple more. And a Commodore. If they can find a 1-mana spell that kills 2 creatures, they could be in the business here. Ooh, but we have the Spell Pierce for it. Swing for lethal. Alright, that was probably quite a bit harder than we needed it to be. Pyroblast and Blue Blast can be pretty effective here. Spell Pierce is not great just because they're not going to be casting a lot of their important spells until later. Lightning Bolt doesn't really kill what we need it to kill. Plus we're bringing in more removal spells for their stuff. Pulse can be pretty good. We'll cut a couple Rumbles. Alright, this one looks decent. Double Terror, but we have Brainstorm if we want to put them back, plus a Lorien, or if we were just able to get enough spells in the graveyard, maybe we end up keeping them. We get a Wildfire, though we have no bridge in sight, so that might be one we're shuffling away. Play an island and pass. Another Pyroblast's pretty good. I'll Brainstorm at the end step here. Find a Chrysalis. Yeah, so we'll get rid of Wildfire and honestly just this mountain, because we'll probably cycle this Lorien, which is more spells for the Terrors. Cycle Lorien, we'll get green, so we can also get a Chrysalis out. Draw another Terror. Pass the turn here. I mean, if we're able to just cycle Lorien, get in some like Pyroblast battles, I don't think I care enough about a Brainstorm to waste a Pyroblast, even if I do want to deploy these Terrors early, but we only need 1 more spell, and to cast all of them for us to have 1 mana terrors, which could be pretty strong here. They have a mountain, and yeah, they have a Crimson Fleet Commodore, which I was a little worried about. I cannot Pyroblast that, or I could try, but it's not going to actually work. So we'll cycle a Lorien. If it was the blue one, obviously we could have cast that, or if we had a Hydroblast, because we brought those in as well, and we draw the counterspell right after. Pretty unfortunate. Well, I could play a 4-mana Terror. I think I'd rather just play a Chrysalis. They ponder, and they pass the turn. Another counterspell. Well, I guess I trade this Chrysalis for the Commodore, unless they want to scred it or something. They go for the block, and they trade. Ugh. So I can't really do nothing, because they're winning with the Monarch. So I can cast a Terror here. If they go for a counterspell, I can Pyroblast. Yeah, I guess that's what we do. I'm going to sack the tokens so I can hold up counter magic. I'd prefer to just like trade off these spells for whatever and then next turn slam 3 terrors, but they don't have to do anything. They choose not to even interact with it. And since they don't have to do anything, then we could just be next turn with still this many terrors in hand. Cycle for Snow-Covered Island. They have a Mystic. Now, it's more mana efficient to use Counterspell, but I actually only have 1 red, so it's possible I should use a Pyroblast. Although they could have they probably just have a Counterspell. So I think I Counterspell here because then if they Counterspell back, I can Pyroblast it on our turn, and they're fully tapped out. If they use a Spell Pierce here, then they might have a Hydroblast to use on our Pyroblast. Okay, they have a Ponder. So I can blow up the Mystic. They get to chump the Terror, and if we draw a land, I can double Terror, if not just 1 Terror. If I draw a mountain, I could Pyroblast both their creatures, which would be worth it because I get the Monarch, and then I could double Terror. That'd be pretty good. Lorien does not equal an untapped red source, but it does still let us double Terror. So we're going to Pyroblast the Mystic, attack with this guy, and we're going to go shields down, cycle the Lorien. Oh, I've already used my Volatile Fjord. Well, I'm not getting another red, that's fine. But we get to play 2 more Terrors, and next turn I can hold up counter magic. Ideally, they won't be able to kill more than 1 of them here with only 1 red mana, or even if they get like another red, they could double scred, but they can't kill all 3. Another Mystic is not the worst because I have the Pyroblast and the Counterspell, and even if they double cantrip here, I can still kill it, take the Monarch. I guess they haven't played a land, so theoretically they could triple cantrip. That'd be annoying. They play a tap land, so I'd probably just attack with everything. If they want to chump with the Mystic to keep the Monarch, then they have to lose all their guys, Brainstorm, and if they don't, then they either have to take 15 or they could chump a couple, but we still get the Monarch. In any case, I still get to blow up the Mystic. Okay, this might be the smartest. They chump with 1, take 10, but that means even if I blow up Mystic, they can still maybe take the Monarch back. I mean, we're still in a pretty good spot. I want to Brainstorm, but it's possible if I Brainstorm, I'm going to Pyroblast, so then my Counterspell is susceptible to a Spell Pierce, which they've only used 1 of, so I almost want to not Brainstorm, which I guess we're also drawing off the Monarch, so I don't need to do that. So let's just Pyro this, and go to end step, draw a card, and pass. They go for a Preordain. We've already seen 2 Mystics, Crimson Fleet, but no Terrors. They are cantripping out the wazoo. There's a Scred. Okay, gotta pay 2 for it. I could just let this go. They still can't attack with this bird because I have 10 damage here. And then if they go for another Scred and they pay for it, then I can Counterspell. Yeah, that seems good. Whereas if I had Counterspelled the other one, then maybe they have like Counterspell on something else. But this way we get to Counterspell. They can't take the Monarch. We get to kill their guy, deal him 5. And we also can just cast a Lorien Revealed, which seems all pretty good. Hard cast this. And another Terror, why not? Now we have 3 lethal attackers. The chances they're able to kill all of them are very low. Maybe they get another Mystic, but they've already gone through so many cantrips. I'm not sure they'd even be able to make enough blockers. They cast a Lorien, see what they could possibly draw. Ponder. Alright, plus we draw a Scred, so we're going to blow up their Terror and attack for 15. Alright, we got 1 match, and it was against the theoretically better deck than ours, so that was, you know, cool. They did make a pretty big misplay with the Scred in game 1, but we'll take 1 land with a Brainstorm's not going to work. 2 land with a Wildfire. Yeah, this one looks good. I think we just get rid of the Rumble. Looks like more Elves or possibly Walls or something. They do play a Wall of Roots. Perfect synergy with the Quirion Ranger. We get a Bolt, we have a Scred, or I could hold up Counterspell. All of these things, and yet I think I should just Cleansing Wildfire here. Yeah, I mean, Scred isn't going to be super good against like an X-Bane until I actually get the lands for it. Quirion's not looking very good right now, so I don't really feel like I have to kill it this moment. I'm gonna get a mountain though in case I do want to like double removal spell next turn. They cycle a Generous Ascent with the Wall of Roots, And they've got the Masked Vandal, surprise, surprise. And they hardcast a Land Grant. So Land Grant makes me think this is probably Spy Walls. We're just seeing kind of strange cards for it. So that kind of makes me want to hold up Counterspell here. Although if I cycle the Lorien to hold up Counterspell, then Brainstorm is kind of dead. They don't currently have black mana. So I think I'm going to Lightning Bolt this Wall of Roots, play a Bridge, hope they don't have another Masked Vandal, and pass here. So killing the Wall of Roots makes it so that they cannot play like a Saga Wildling or something if they wanted to try to go for the aggressive plan. Well, Lead the Stampede's a little annoying that we don't have Counterspell for. 2 Elves of Deep Shadow, a Wildling, and a Balustrade Spy. Play in Elves. So I'm going to Brainstorm here and cycle a Lorien in my upkeep for an island. And I feel like Chrysalis is just not relevant. Well, maybe we don't need... I guess it could be relevant if they do go for the beatdown plan. Let's just put back a Lorien. Upkeep. Cycle this Lorien for an island. Draw for turn. We get a Spell Pierce. So I could Scred the Elves. That means they can't Spy. Although obviously if they Spy, I could just counter it. They have another Elves, so it's only going to delay a turn. I guess I might need the Scred. I might need the Scred if they get a Mesmeric Fiend. They also have a Wildling, so they can play the Spy this turn regardless. So I think I just pass. They go for a Winding Way. I guess that'll resolve. Of course, they find 4 creatures off of it. They also just have the swamp, naturally. They untap the Elves here, go for an Avenging Hunter, which I guess I'm forced to counter. I should have Scredded the Elves in response to them untapping it, because that would have prevented the Avenging Hunter. And then if they went for a Balustrade Spy, I still had the counter spell. But here we're gonna shoot the Elves anyway. Keep their mana down for next turn. And it's funny, I can, withdrawing that island, I can play a Terror and bluff a counterspell, but I don't have a counterspell, I have a Spell Pierce. I feel like I almost want to just slam a Chrysalis with just Spell Pierce. And on the off chance they go for a Spy, I actually can counter the Dread Return. So I feel like it's actually better to try to make it look like I don't have anything. I mean, they know Spell Pierce is a possibility, but like, I'd have to have it. I don't know. Obviously, if they have a Mesmeric Fiend or something, they would play that first, but if they don't, they might just go for this. I don't have red mana, so I can't kill a creature. And then if they go for the Dread Return, they only have 1 green mana left, and so then they should just mill out. Whereas if I did the Terror, I think they would have been more hesitant with double blue up. But here's the Spell Pierce for the ages. Nice. All right. And we won that one. Kind of cool. We have no extra graveyard hate, no extra counter spells, although they are playing a couple of elves, so I guess like Breath Weapons and Cast in the Fires can be decent. I mean, Chrysalis is good just in case they do go for an attack on us, but I feel like Murmuring Mystic is definitely way too slow. Admiral maybe could be decent if we like stall them enough. It can draw us into more counter spells and stuff. Pulse also can hit their Lotleth Giant, so actually that one's good to keep in. Spell Pierce was just a champion there. It feels like it's probably not going to be in the future, but I'm going to keep him in anyway because they're going to think we're going to take him out, and then we're not. So Spy was its own deck for a while. Of course, 1-land Spy was a thing for a long time, and then it became this like 4 to 6 land Spy in early 2025 here, and then it evolved into Walls Spy, and then Elves Spy, and now what we're on currently is kind of a mix between the two. It's like Welves Spy, and that's where we're at the moment. I mean, this hand has decent interaction. I mean, by that I mean a Scred, Spell Pierce, again, not the best thing ever, but it could hit a Winding Way or lead the Stampede early. Counterspell, plus I don't want to play a Bridge early here. I think we're just going to play an Island and pass. This does hold up a Spell Pierce and a Brainstorm and some other stuff. There's the Gate Creeper Vine, find a Swamp, and I guess we're just going to Brainstorm. I could cycle the Lorien in my upkeep if I really want. 2 Cast in the Fires feels like a lot, but I don't hate 1. And since we don't have a Wildfire, I'm kind of just not interested in this bridge in case they have a Masked Vandal, so I think we'll get rid of 1 of each of these. And then in my upkeep, I kind of want to find a red source with this, so I could get my Volatile Fjord. That's probably fine. I'm tapped out this turn. If they lead the Stampede, I'm going to want to have the Spell Pierce up, though, which means I need to get blue, but I don't want to get a red with this. I guess we'll just draw back 1 of the Cast in the Fires, play a Landscape, and we'll just get rid of the other one. I don't want to tap out of the Spell Pierce just because it could be... I doubt I'm ever going to hit a Dread Return off of it again. They're going to play around that in this match, but being able to use it against a Lead the Stampede could be nice, and I don't really want to miss that opportunity. They go for Mesmeric Fiend. That's totally fine, actually. Now it's kind of good that we took the Cast in the Fires, because this could just take out the Fiend and the Quarian Ranger no matter what they grab here. Although that kind of makes me need to get a red with this if I want to use it right away. I do take Counterspell, Land Grant, Spy, Lead the Stampede, and a Lotleth Giant. So I could Spell Pierce to keep the land in hand. seeing as they're never going to cast this Lead the Stampede into the Spell Pierce, I think it's worth it. And then we'll take one here, certainly. Yeah, I have to crack this for red if I want to cast in the fire these. That is opening them up to having the Lead the Stampede without being able to counter it, but I can't do anything about that anyway unless I draw a untapped island here, in which case I could scred the Mesmeric Fiend. I probably don't want to waste the scred on that though. And if I don't do this right now, then they can do the Lead the Stampede anyway. I think I just have to accept the Stampede's going to happen. I don't want to give him an extra use of the Quirion Ranger or anything here. So let's just take these out. Imagine I drew my other Spell Pierce right here and I just get to pop the Lead the Stampede. Oh, that'd be so good. Unfortunately, it's not the case. And it's so bad they just concede. So that's pretty cool for us. All right, round 5 here. We pulled it back a little bit, back to a 2-2. So hopefully we can get a positive record here. It's a little slow with 2 bridges, but we do have a Wildfire to speed things up a little bit. We have a Bolt for interaction and a Brainstorm. I think we'll give it a try. We're also on the play, so that helps a little bit. Play the bridge and pass. And looks like we might be against Cawgates. That could be interesting. Wildfires are pretty good against them. Although for now, drawing all of our artifact lands, we definitely need to use it on ourselves just to play things and also have our screds be not completely useless. I mean, eventually we'll find a land. But there is also some synergy with Brainstorm and then Wildfire shuffles. So Wildfire is just another way we can shuffle with our Brainstorm, which is kind of cool. But of course we need to have 3 mana to be able to do that. They cycle a Lorien for a beachfront, and they're just going to play that, I assume. I could also Brainstorm here and then Wildfire to shuffle one of the cards away. Wildfire is so good against Cawgates, but I think we definitely want to use it on ourselves right now, so I think we are going to do that. Scred, Bolt, Rumble. We probably don't need all these bolts right now, so let's put back one of them. Then Cleansing Wildfire, find an island. And we can start playing Chrysalis, which is pretty good against this matchup because it gives us chump blockers for their lifelink guys, and it's colorless for their Prismatic Strands and for their Guardian of the Guild Pact. So there's a lot of reasons Chrysalis is really good against them. They're going to go for a Brainstorm, play an island, and cast a Modern Age, drawing into the cards they've just brainstormed away, but they get to discard a Prismatic Strands, which is something. We get an island. Well, we're just going to start casting Chrysalis, and we can hold up Brainstorm or any of our interaction. They pitch a Sacred Cat. Journey to Nowhere is going to get rid of the Chrysalis. It's pretty annoying. I can't do anything about it. I mean, I could shoot our own Chrysalis, which lets us pull some Marasa it back later, but I don't think that seems worthwhile. And they have a Squadron Hawk. I'm not going to kill the Hawk here, and I'm not going to Brainstorm, so we're just going to pass our turn. And I can play another Chrysalis, which I probably will. Although if they have another Journey to Nowhere, it just goes away, and I don't have any interaction to stop that. So it's possible I should actually just like Brainstorm and Rumble to hopefully find some counter spells or something. They Hawk and only pull out 2 Hawks, even though they're only at 6 cards, interestingly. Lorien Revealed's not bad. I could just cast that to draw 3. Take a little turn off for some card advantage. I really don't hate that, since I don't want to play the Chrysalis until I have like a counter spell anyway. Sure, let's do that. If we don't hit a land here, okay, we hit a Lorien, so we'll have to sack a spawn to find a land, but we will do that. Get another red here. Terror only costs -4, so I couldn't play it this turn even if I wanted to, but next turn I could, after some cantrips or stuff. They swing for 1, play an Outlaw Medic, and another Hawk. I'm probably going to keep this Wildfire for a Basilisk Gate, because I don't really need to ramp more. I mean, I would like to hit my land drops, but I think we're fine for now. I'm going to Brainstorm, and I can Rumble to get our Terror down. Even if I don't mill anything, I guess those 2 spells would get the Terror for free, or 1 mana rather. But I would like to hit my land drop. There's another Wildfire, which I don't really want to get rid of just in case. Spell Pierce, I mean, they don't have the most mana. They haven't missed a land or anything, but they only have 5. Counterspell's good though. So put back Spell Pierce and Wildfire. Play an island, and I'm going to cast a Chrysalis here and just hold up Counterspell and other interaction. They do have another Journey to Nowhere. They could have a Counterspell for this, but I can't do much about that. I guess if I'd held up the other Spell Pierce and sacked a spawn to hold up another blue, then I could do something about that. That could have been decent. Response, they're going to Thraben Charm it. Yeah, I couldn't do anything about that unless I had held up double red, but I couldn't even if I had sacked the spawn. to kill 2 of these guys, so that's going to die. But we are going through their removal so that we can land a terror. They're going to just crash in for 5. No, they're going to leave 1 back. Okay, well, we're going to take it, and we get our other Wildfire. Spell Pierce on top. I don't care about the Spell Pierce. Let's just go for a Rumble. Try to find like a Mystic or maybe even another Terror. Bridge, I guess, is fine. Not really, but play that. Play a Terror. They don't have a single Basilisk Gate, so maybe I should just use a Cleansing Wildfire here, but then they're going to suddenly find them. I think we just pass for now. I realize now that they only searched up 2 Hawks, and then they didn't search up again. So I assume they just naturally had another one in hand, and if that's the case, they have 2 Hawks and nothing else, or 1 other card rather, so not a lot going for them. Yep, once again they declined to use it. Swing with the Flyers. We're gonna take down the Vector Glider to stall some of the aggression. They do have Prismatic Strands, that's why they were leaving back the Outlaw Medic. They can flash it back if they really want, which they do. I guess this is a lot of damage flying that I currently don't have any way to deal with, so I guess we're just gonna bolt it again. They don't even have a Basilisk Gate, and the Flyer, there's just a lot of Flyers. They have another Prismatic Strands. Okay. I mean, it's not the worst thing ever for them to have. Plus, I know their last card is most likely a Hawk, but we're in a little bit of trouble in the air here. If we don't draw anything relevant, I will certainly use a Cleansing Wildfire here just to draw a new card. Murmuring Mystic is a very good one. Let's cast that and then start casting Wildfires to ramp. In fact, I'm going to sack a Spawn just to hold a little bit of extra colored mana. I could blow up like their Heap Gate or something, which I might at some point, but I think for now we just want to pull out some extra lands. Scred's pretty good, and I do want more birds. Sure, let's go for another Wildfire. Well, if we go for another Wildfire and then they get a Basilisk Gate, we're like hosed. We should not do that. Let's not be too hasty. I'll swing for 5 and pass. They find a Lorien Revealed. Nice draw. Gonna go for a Scred on the Vector Glider. They can use the Prismatic Strands on red if they want, but then they can't use it on blue, which means that the Bird Illusions can trade off for Hawks. So that's something anyway. Or they could just let it go, but they do flash it back. Find a Basilisk Gate, but they can't use it this turn. Well, can't activate it this turn. They have another Journey to Nowhere. Come on, dude. There goes our Mystic. Pretty annoying. They just attack with the Vector Glider. We're gonna take it. We get a bridge. Attack with the Terror first. Feel like they're less likely to chump here if they think they have a gate. But then once I blow it up, maybe they'd be willing to chump. So let's blow up the Basilisk Gate. And I would love a Lorien Revealed of my own. Spell Pierce, great. Exactly what I want. And they have another Basilisk Gate, of course. Pump a Hawk, swing. I gotta jump here. I take 3. Whatever they pump is lethal, because I could block here and take 2. I'm at 7, but then whatever they pump, if they have 1 more gate, is lethal. I might as well just do this, I guess. And they embalm a Sacred Cat from the graveyard. We get another Murmuring Mystic, though I don't think it's going to do enough anymore. Swing for 5. They're going to chump, cast the Mystic, and we'll Spell Pierce basically anything they cast just to get a bird. They gate up the Hawk. We have to chump the big one, go down to 4. Sacred Cat, and there's the last Hawk, as foretold. They pass. We get a Bolt, which I don't think keeps us alive. You can bolt whatever they target. Anna make a blocker. Actually, I guess that could keep us alive. They block with the Outlaw Medic to draw a card. Yeah, as long as they don't have another gate or a counter spell or anything like that, Bolt could keep us alive here. Play a Citadel Gate, pump a Hawk. We're going to bolt it, make a bird. I could also have just bolted the Vector Glider and chumped the Hawk, which actually might have been a little better, but I did not end up doing that. We're going down to 1 here, and we don't have any Breath Weapons or Casting the Fires in the main deck, so we would need like a Lorien Revealed into a couple removal spells. It's possible. Rumble is something, maybe. That makes a bird, and it finds a bridge, of course. If it just found like a Chrysalis, of which I've got like 3 more, I was supposed to Spell Pierce our own Rumble and pay for it, of course, which would give us another bird. It still leaves us dead, but if we had hit, it would have given us a better shot. They take 6, and we'll just pass to them, let them kill us. They pump a Hawk and swing with the Flyers. We're going to take lethal. All right, we do get Pyroblasts and Casting the Fire and maybe Breath Weapon. Pulse we don't need. Admiral seems tough. I'm not loving Rumbles in this deck, I will say. I knew it was probably not going to be great in this deck, but I kind of just wanted more green spells to make it feel like I was playing more than just Chrysalis. And I don't think it's terrible. We've never whiffed on it, but We've just hit a land several times when we did not want a land at that point. I feel like everything else is pretty decent. Maybe we don't need 4 pyros. Like, they're more white than they are blue. This hits Modern Age. If they have blue blasts they're bringing in, it hits those. Lorien Revealed, Counterspell. But I kind of want to keep all our removal, including bringing in all this extra removal. But I'm not going to cut any of these, so I guess, like, cut the Power Blasts and maybe both Spell Pierces. Alright, on the play for this one, and I mean, we kind of do nothing until turn 4, which I don't think is terrible against Coggates. So we could keep it, but then again, I guess if they have Dust to Dust, well, I can have Counterspell up by the time they can Dust to Dust. We'll give it a try. It's not amazing, but this is a matchup that's pretty slow, so I like having the several lands. I don't mind having a slower game plan, but like this Terror looks pretty bad here, but we'll see. I get a Snow-Covered Island, so I could just leave up Counterspell right here. I'm gonna hope they don't have a Revoke Existence or something and just assume it's better to get our tap land down. I don't really care if they play a Modern Age or an Outlaw Medic or something. Well, there's the Revoke Existence, as anticipated. Can never have nice things. They have a cat and a couple islands, so missing out on some gates here. We get a Lorien Revealed. I think we can keep that for now. We might end up Brainstorm Lorien cycling here, but we're playing an artifact land, so here's a Counterspell in case they try to blow it up again, although I guess they could blow it up with Counterspell backup. There's a gate and another cat. Totally fine. Take a damage, and I'm going to Brainstorm. Breath Weapon, Wildfire, Counterspell, these are all really nice. I think we'll put back Terror, and I want to play the Chrysalis, but I want to have Counterspell to protect it against a Journey to Nowhere. Maybe I just take a turn to like Breath Weapon these two away. So Terror and Chrysalis, and I maybe just don't shuffle here. Just play a bridge and pass. Set the upkeep stop in case I want to get rid of the Terror, which I might. They're clearly holding up Counterspell, so Breath Weapon might not resolve, but I'm kind of fine with that if that's what they want to Counterspell. They have a Citadel Gate. I'm not going to Breath Weapon here in the combat step, because then if they have like a Dust to Dust, then that's really bad for us. So I'll wait till the end step, and then we'll go for it. Again, if they Counterspell, it's not a big deal. If they don't, then I get a couple turns off from dealing with the cats, so that's not too bad either. Do I want that Terror? I don't think so. I think we're going to cycle the Lorien here, and I'll just get another island. Get a Bolt. I guess we're going to go for a Wildfire, because I would like to... They don't have a Basilisk Gate. They also don't have creatures. I guess creatures are coming back, but I'm going to try to be proactive and get this Chrysalis down with a Counterspell backup. Maybe that's irresponsible using this Wildfire, but also the creatures that we know are going to be coming, I can at the very least chump block a few turns. Also, we get a Scred, which is nice, so 2 removal spells. Also notably, they did choose red for the Citadel Gate, so it's possible they brought in red blasts, or maybe breath weapons, but that, or Cast into the Fire or something, but I'm assuming just red blasts would be my guess. Raven, Charm to exile our graveyard. I don't currently have a Terror, so I don't actually care about that. So I'm good with them using their mana that way. Their mana and their cards, of which they only have a couple. I think it's a reasonable thing to do, but luckily for us, we got rid of that Terror before. And they're, again, holding up a Counterspell. I'm just going to Bolt here. So we, again, have a... If they don't want a Counterspell, we have a turn off from attacks. And we get to Chrysalis here with a Counterspell for their Counterspell, or Counterspell for their Journey to Nowhere. Although if their last 2 cards are Journey and Counterspell, then they could, they could win that battle, and it's pretty good for them. I will say they've taken about 10 minutes longer than we have. So they are... There's a possibility they could time out here, although they're up a game, so they just need to win this game in 5 minutes. They do have the Journey. I'm going to Counterspell. They have a Dispel here, looks like. No, just a Counterspell. Okay, can't do much about that. They're going to bring back the cat. 1 card in hand, though, so I can kill the cat, and ideally I can Counterspell to make sure that they don't ever get more card advantage through like a Lorien Revealed or something. I don't think I even care to kill the cat until it poses a greater threat through a Basilisk Gate or something. Squadron Hawk. Annoyingly, I think that's worth countering, just because if they do get a Brainstorm, it's a lot of card advantage, but it's also just a lot of attackers here. And currently I don't have the means to deal with them. So we'll take a damage. Cleansing Wildfire. This one I think I should save. I definitely want to just cycle it to try to make something happen this turn, but they don't have much pressure. The way they can change that is by finding a gate. Again, they're racing against the clock. I would like to win without the clock, but even if I win this game, I'm probably not going to win a second game before the clock goes off, so that's just probably how the game's going to be decided. Okay, we get a Brainstorm. Brainstorm Wildfire is a decent enough combo. I think I'll go for the Brainstorm. Ooh, and we even get another Wildfire. Although I kind of like all of these, I don't really want to shuffle. But I don't need the Wildfires right now, so let's just put them both back. And play a 3-mana Terror with the Pyroblast backup, plus a Scred. Wildfires for if they hit a gate. This one's looking pretty good for us now. Then again, we didn't get a counterspell, and they'd always have the Journey to Nowhere whenever they need it. But again, we're just kind of playing the slow them down plan. I don't know if something's wrong with their internet or what, but they are taking 30 seconds to target this Journey to Nowhere when they only have a couple minutes left. So swing with the cat. We know our next 2 draws are Cleansing Wildfire. Yep, I think I'm just waiting. This is the side of me that wants to be impatient and just make something happen. I want to cast some spells, but based on time, we are just winning here, and even not based on time, we're doing totally fine. So again, we do not need to rush. Let's just keep passing. They're finding gates, but unfortunately not Basilisk gates. I mean, obviously we have the answer to it, plus we have a way to block the cat, but still, they do not want to be finding lands right now. Now we're drawing new cards. We hit a Bountiful Landscape. I think we'll just cycle that. We still have plenty of mana up. Casting the Fire is nice. More removal. Probably try to wait until they have another creature for that. Modern Age. We'll counter that. Possible I should save the Pyroblast for like a Lorien Revealed, but Modern Age can help them. You know, it can draw some cards over the course of a couple turns. It can put some more stuff that's relevant in the graveyard. So I think it's a reasonable card to hit. And there's a Murmuring Mystic. Maybe we should have saved the Pyroblast just to keep this alive. Okay. Well, I could also go for the Wildfires now to just make some birds, but we have a couple instants, and I think we're doing okay. Then again, they always have the Journey to Nowhere. All right, I'm going to pick up a bird here. Casting the Fire could hit 2 Squadron Hawks, but Scred could hit like a Vector Glider. I guess the Vector Glider is pretty far away. I think we're just going to go for a Scred. Now that we get a bird out of it, I'm okay with it. Plus, eventually we are getting low enough that I'd like to take out their creature. 11, we're still pretty comfortable, but I think it's not unreasonable to do at this point. And now they have 1 minute to deal us 11 damage, and we are going to win the game, and I assume the match. All right, and we end up picking up a 3-2. We started 0-2 with a couple misplays and just maybe not the best decks for us to play against, and then ended up going 3-2, so not a bad run in the end. So we played against Elves. We would have had a much better matchup if we were running the Breath Weapons in the main deck, which is how Is It Terror, or Is It Control rather, usually plays, usually 2 of them in the main deck that I actually intentionally took out to the sideboard. So having those in the main deck would have been nicer, and we also made a couple of misplays understandably there, so I think that loss was based on our own play of both deck building and just the actual gameplay. And so I think we could have gotten that game. So I think we could have won that match if we played and built our deck a little bit better. White Weenie, same thing, honestly. We were punished again for not having the Breath Weapons in the main deck. If we never found the Breath Weapons, then we would have not been in the same, we would have been in the same position probably. I would say also maybe they could have Prismatic Strands, but we know based on how they drew that they didn't generally have the Prismatic Strands when we would have needed the Breath Weapons. So I think, again, we got a little punished for just how we built our deck there. Then we went up against Is It Control. They did make a bit of a mistake with their own Scred, so I think we were able to outplay them a little bit there, which was kind of cool. And also, Chrysalis does line up nicely against a Terror if you get multiple Chrysalis or an extra Rumble to make the Chrysalis a little bit bigger. Then we played against Spy Welves, which was pretty decent for us. We were able to get the Spell Pierce on the Dread Return, which was absolutely fantastic. And then in game 2, we had a good amount of removal, killing their creatures with Casting the Fire. And then they had a pretty bad lead, the Stampede, and conceded there. And then finally, Coggates, definitely a matchup where we're already favored because Cleansing Wildfire is really good against them. They were able to take game 1. We were definitely going to win game 2, and they obviously just spent way too much time making some decisions or due to lag or something, and so we were ended up getting the match there too. I think this idea is kind of cool. I didn't like the Rumbles, so I think those just get cut. I do think, based on what we played against, a couple Breath Weapons are probably necessary in here. And frankly, we took out a whole bunch of cantrips when we were adding the green. It would have been nice to have those cantrips to find the cards that we wanted, so I could definitely see putting back in a couple Ponders. Maybe we can go down to a couple Bolts since we have more creatures to block. Add 2 Ponders in here, maybe even get rid of the Pulse Marasa for a 3rd Ponder. But then again, at that point, we're basically just playing green for Chrysalis, although we also get to play the Wildfire, which is both a benefit and a detriment. Obviously, we got our artifact lands blown up a few times, but we also saw how powerful Wildfire can be. So there's a lot of cool stuff here. I think it's pretty interesting. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you to my $10 supporters, including Howard Granger, Laars, JMW, Rafael Rodriguez, JDNPX, Jason Golombiewski, Halkaz, Cody Cowell, Ill Intent, and Emmanuel Mayer. I really appreciate the support, and I will see you all next time.